Maimi Sumaidia from Al-Azhar University as our honorable judges. And our teacher, Mr. Valen and Miss Desi, is joining us as well. To begin today's round, our teacher, Miss Desi and Mr. Valen, will deliver an opening statement. Miss Desi, if you may.
All right, thank you very much. Arman, right? Arman, thank you very much, Arman. Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Honorable Head of SMA in Jakarta, Dr. Ratna Budiarti and Bayonet, the Chairman of Committee of SMA Seni Jakarta, Bapak Yudi Aditya Warman, the Board of Teachers, Committee and PTA, Parent Teachers Association, the jury, Dr. Wasito and also Ibu Memi, contestant participants, the finalists, students and committee of ESCS 2021, the Chief Executive Laras Ramaswari, Deputy Chief Executive Arman Hakim, Mr. Palen. Let's praise and gratitude to Allah, because this morning we are still given the blessing of being healthy and happy. So we can still get English debate competition, SETARA, English speech competition of SETARA 2021. SETARA actually stand for Semarak 70 untuk Edukasi, Seni, dan Olahraga, or like the glory of 70 high school for education, art, and sport. Dear all, I feel very proud and touched in the midst of pandemic. You are still trying to make achievements by doing various positive things, including being involved in the annual big event organized by students of SMA 70 Jakarta, both as participants in the competition and as committee. You are all amazing. Of course, the preparation that you have done are very long, I believe. Several months earlier, the contestants had been practicing and the committee was continuously making preparation, starting from internal meetings, consulting with coaches and judges, meeting with parents and school committees for their support, and all things to improve the performance of the competition and provide the best service for the contestant. This event actually is the second virtual event. We all learned a lot from last year. So this year you guys are more well prepared, I believe. You are extraordinary because you are a generation that can adapt to pandemic condition, so that almost a lot of activities are carried out online. Hopefully this event runs smoothly and successfully, and can be a proficient that you in the future when you enter in the community, both in organization and also the career. And for all contestants and the finalists, please compete, strive to be the best. But the most important thing is honesty, success for all of you, and send our best regard to and thanks to the school and also your parents who have guided you and also allowed you to take part in this competition. Thank you to our beloved school committee, parents teacher association, sponsors, and big family of SMA 70 Jakarta, and especially for the jury, Pak Wasito and also Ibu Memi, and Mr. Valen for the continuous guidance to our students and all participants and also panelists. And I thank you so much for the committee. You've been working hard to make this happen. Okay, may Allah bless all of us. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mr. Valen, I think.
Okay. Is my voice clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bu Desi, Mr. Wasito, and Miss Mimi as the judges. Good morning to everyone in the committee of SETARA 70 2021, and especially good morning to all of the finalists. Especially for the finalists, good job that you have made it here shows how good you really are, and I personally hope that you still have some cards on your sleeve to surprise us later on. And yeah, we're looking forward to see your performance today. So thank you for the time and opportunity. Harman, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Desi and Mr. Valen. And
You're
now
welcome.
we will start the speech session. I will call the participant according to their participant number. Now I will call participant number 1, Raihan Maika Iswajudi from SMA Taruna Nusantara. If you may, turn on your camera before beginning your speech. Thank you.
Is my voice already clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, respected judges and audience. My name is Rahan Maika Iswahyudi from Taruna Nusantara High School. Today, I am here to share my thoughts and talk about should developing countries centralize their focus on the country's economy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit the world by storm. Almost all countries in the world are being affected by this pandemic. The world was forced to be in quarantine. Activities such as work and school was forced to stop, and everything went online. A lot of work sectors that require offline work, such as the travel industry, suffered great loss from the economic perspective. BBC News even reported that billions of dollars have been lost in 2020 from the travel industry alone. So it's very hard to imagine how countries who rely on their travel industry facing this pandemic, right? Now, the US Global Coalition mentioned that the failure to the control of COVID-19 pandemic has had far-reaching impacts on the global economy, with the global GDP or gross domestic product falling by 3.3% in 2020, which is causing more economic downfall than the 2008 financial crisis. Now, onto the real argument. This COVID-19 pandemic covers two critical problems in the countries, which is first health and economy. When the pandemic first hit, almost all countries were aware of the health problems and death cases caused by the disease and immediately took action by applying lockdown and restricting business activities, which is causing economic crisis all over the world. Now, the developed countries such as European and North American countries have strong real-time surveillance and health systems to manage the infectious disease spread. Therefore, health issues regarding the COVID-19 are better and easier handled in developed countries. And from an economic perspective as well, developed countries are already established financially even before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, they are still able to fulfill their daily needs and prevent their country from poverty. Or in other words, the developed countries are more well prepared in facing the COVID-19 pandemic. But what about the developing countries who face challenges in health management and suffer poverty and job loss due to the pandemic? And which should they centralize first, health or economy? Now, the global economic downfall caused by the pandemic is causing huge impact towards countries with low income and emerging economies, or as we know, developing countries. They will take the hardest hit as they have less resources to protect themselves against this dual health and economic crisis. As COVID-19 cases rises, the economy falls. Now I will take Indonesia as an example of one of the developing countries in the world facing COVID-19. Now, Indonesia as a developing country has one of the most COVID-19 cases amongst countries, especially in Asia. This is because of the lack of government responsibility and also the lack of discipline from the people. Now, although the Indonesian government applied several lockdowns and restriction measures in the time period from 2020 until now, COVID-19 cases are still unpredictable and mostly high. Now, this is because a lot of people are not following health protocols and safety measurements held by the government. For example, during lockdown, there are still a lot of cases found where people would open their store or restaurants above the time restriction and causing a huge crowd. And a lot of this can be found in rural areas or where poverty is mostly found, which not to mention can be found a lot in developing countries. And when they were asked the reason why they didn't follow the government rules, they answered that they have nothing. They have no income. They can't feed their family. They were forced to open their shops or restaurant and disobey the government, which causes them not to follow health protocols and increase COVID-19 cases. This brings me to the next point, which is the reason why developing countries should centralize their focus on economy. With the developing countries such as Indonesia, where the government is mostly focused on health protocols, such as restricting activities and lockdowns, without realizing the increase of poverty in their country, this causes disbelief from people towards the government, therefore resulting with people disobeying health protocols and causing more COVID cases. Instead, the government should focus on their economy, such as creating jobs and increasing employment, providing people with access to basic social services, including education and healthcare. And when the government earns the trust of people by focusing on their economy, people would put their trust on the government and resulting in people following health protocols and help decrease COVID-19 cases. So in the end of the day, focusing on the economy would also result in increase of health management as a result of people following and obeying health protocols. My next point is that a developing country itself is a country that has low income and emerging economies. Or in other words, as a developing country, we are playing the long game. We are not thinking about tomorrow or next week, but we are thinking about 5 to 10 years ahead. With the economic downturn faced by countries, we are faced with a challenge to recover our economy after the pandemic. So it is important for developing countries to focus on creating a sustainable economy during the pandemic. If not, instead of recovering, these developing countries will need to face regress and go backwards as a country in an economic perspective. So in conclusion, to answer the question, should developing countries centralize their focus on economy during the COVID-19 pandemic? The answer is yes. As an emerging economy country, they should think about the future of their country. Now it's up to them. Do they want to regress and go backwards to get just a country, or do they want to recover and improve and go forward as a country? Now that's all from me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being a wonderful audience and lending me your time. My name is Rahan Maikai Wahyudi. I hope my speech gave you helpful knowledge. Thank you and good morning.
And now I will call participant number 2, Asha Wiratnanto from American School of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Hold on. Give 3 minutes to scoring for us.
Okay.
Okay, done.
Okay, from me.
Okay. Now I will call participant number 2, Asha Wiratnanto from American School of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, ERG. If you may turn on your camera before beginning. Thank you.
So is my camera okay? Is my voice okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So dear delegates, good morning to you all. However, as for it is 9 p.m. here as I am with a 10-hour difference from you all. So to introduce myself, my name is Asha Wiratnanto, and I'm here to discuss an idea by which lingers among us all. First and foremost, on a broad standpoint, the economy comes from the need for consumption, based on an area of production within corporations and trading companies to provide for the demand and supply of the nation. Developing countries can be measured by its economic strength, which mainly rely on agricultural industries to keep a steady GDP. So delegates, the question would be, how do we expect the economy to flourish if the people of the nation are affected by COVID-19? How will these agricultural trading systems continue without the help of citizens who have lost their jobs or are suffering from a loss of a family member due to COVID-19? Delegates, the main question is, should developing countries centralize their focus on the country's economy during the COVID-19 pandemic? Firstly, let's debrief. As we are all well aware, the COVID-19 pandemic has approached roughly every nation present in our world. It has created a humanitarian crisis where our lives have tragically transformed, beginning with entities so simple such as our lifestyle, our societies, as well as our world's most important being our mental and physical health, and well, of course, the economy. Nations are wounded, people are wounded, and last but not least, the economy is wounded. However, several nations continue to persevere while beginning to heal in various aspects. Firstly, millions of citizens within dozens of countries have received the vaccine, with around 5 billion doses given. Therefore, as you may expect, initiating businesses to start work and boosting the economy, such as places like in the United States or even Brazil, have produced positive results, such as a constant decrease in COVID cases and an increase in the economy stocks. Delegates, you may be wondering, how? Well, the answer lays within the people. The people of the nation who obeyed lockdown measures, who took the vaccines, who remained in social distancing and restricted large-scale gatherings, despite keeping local businesses open at a relative size. This, delegates, is what leads to a healing process within the people of the nation and the economy. However, many developing countries, with their rising agricultural markets of the economy, continue to struggle with the aftermath of the death of many civilians. Evidence from the United Nations indicates that the health and economic impacts of the virus are being borne disproportionately towards poor people. For example, yearly unemployment rates have increased among major economies at a rapid rate, leaving people at a loss of jobs and cut incomes, subsequently resulting in people living in homelessness, becoming highly exposed to the danger of the virus due to a lack of safe shelter and, for example, basic essentials. People then lack access to running water. Refugees, migrants, or displaced persons also stand to suffer disproportionately both from the pandemic and its aftermath. Whether due to the limited movement, fewer employment opportunities, and increased xenophobia. In addition to this, a majority of the women, for example, end up losing their jobs due to caregiving responsibilities, discrimination against their own gender, or economic instability. Therefore, across low-income countries where vaccinations have been delayed, the effects of this weak management have resulted in an increase in poverty and aggravated insecurity without a proper job. A quote given by World Bank Group President David Malpass says, quote unquote, while there are some signs of global recovery, the pandemic continues to inflict poverty and inequality on people in developing countries around the world. Delegates, may I mention to you that despite the signs of global recovery, citizens continue to be the victims of this virus due to the greater focus on the economy rather than the citizens themselves. Efforts, delegates, we must bring global and international efforts, which are coordinated among all nations of the world, including the NATO countries such as the United States, France, Canada, which must be efficiently and effectively implemented in relations to the CDGs of the United Nations to accelerate vaccine distribution and debt relief, therefore, in particular to the low-income countries. We must relieve the health crisis for the citizens themselves, for our neighbors, for our civilians. Therefore, in order to reach a resilient and strong recovery from COVID-19, what must be done are stronger implementations of healthcare among citizens, increased mobilizations of larger institutions such as hotels, brands, bigger stores to promote the vaccines, and constricting gatherings while lockdown measures are exerted. Delegations, this is not necessarily the matter of whether citizens of low-income countries obey the rules, which of course it is, but also the lack of governmental and healthcare aid for the citizens themselves. Look at the big picture. Once citizens are healed, vaccinated, safe, Businesses and agricultural companies may fully open full-time, henceforth putting in motion the policymakers who shall therefore address the pandemic's more long-lasting effects to take baby steps towards an enduring and international and inclusive growth of the economy for all. This will take time, delegates, but we must all be mindful of the people around us. Get vaccinated, open your local businesses, and we shall strive. To finally clarify, delegates, I have reached a consensus. Developing countries should not focus on the economy, but to devote the time to create coordinated efforts to essentially healing the world, starting with the people of the low income and developing countries by increasing healthcare aid for all. Nations are able to proceed with debt relief, furthermore creating a growth in macroeconomic stability at a larger scale for all nations of the world. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Asha, for your speech. For the judge, grading starts now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and now I will call participant number 3, Natalie Awantara from SMA Consvi, Taiwan. If you may turn on your camera before beginning your speech. Thank you.
Before I start, is my connection clear?
Yes.
Okay. Greetings, honorable judges and fellow participants. Before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Natalie Tresha Awantara, and I'm from Consvi Taiwan High School. I can't even begin to express how grateful I am to be able to pass the preliminary round and be here in the final round with all of these talented speakers. I trust that you are all healthy and doing well throughout this pandemic, and I would also like to thank God for his grace and blessing, for without it, I wouldn't be here today, alive and well, to deliver you my speech. The theme that is chosen for today's speech is, should developing countries centralize their focus on the country's economy during this COVID-19 pandemic? Let me start by stating my point of view on what makes a country still a developing country. Developing countries are countries whose material welfare is still at a low level. They have a lot on their plates to centralize their focus on, because there are still a lot of things that makes a country far from being developed, such as minimal health facilities, lack of education, and unemployment. It is very clear that developing countries are still lacking in various aspects. On the other hand, economic growth is single-handedly the most vital aspect that helps a country become developed. Developing countries that are crossed off from the list are now back at square one since the global pandemic struck the world by storm due to unstable economic growth in their country. It was hard before the pandemic happened for the developing countries, but now it is extra hard for them to keep up. So the question still stands. Should developing countries centralize their focus on the country's economy during this pandemic? I would say no. I don't think developing countries should centralize their focus on just one main aspect, because of course they are still behind on a lot of things. I would say developing countries have to balance their focus on other aspects as well that are affecting a lot of people throughout this pandemic, such as health and education. While economy might be an important aspect for a developing country, but in this pandemic era, developing countries should prioritize their focus on the health aspect first. And I'm not saying to just focus on that, but developing countries need to balance it all out. I am fully aware that balancing responsibilities for a whole country is most definitely not an easy task, but I'm sure if the government are resilient in their duties, changes could be made. We can take it step by step and start doing it together. The government can start by providing health facilities alongside help from health workers to the people. Restaurants and opening business places such as restaurants, malls, and cafes. Allowing these workplaces to open will help decrease unemployment, which is currently at risk throughout this pandemic. Now that vaccines are available, developing countries can start by opening international travels again to help increase their tourism industry. And for education, to prevent students from dropping out due to the pandemic, the government can help by providing free internet data for online school. And maybe start working on helping schools to open up again by giving free vaccines to the school staffs and students. That is all I want to say regarding this prominent topic. I hope we can all work together during this pandemic, supporting one another to help end all this madness and hopefully go back to how things work. Thank you for listening. Stay healthy and God bless.
Thank you, Natalie, for your speech. For the judges, the grading starts now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now I will call participant number 4, Erha Kristanti Dian Kamila Ananda from SMA Negeri Titian Teras. If you may, turn on your camera before beginning your speech. Thank you.
Is my sound clear?
Yeah.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable judges, respected committees, and all of the fellow participants. My name is Erha Krisanti Dian Kamila Ananda from Titian Teras Senior High School, Muaro Jambi. Have you ever heard about Jambi before? Okay, today I'd like to deliver my speech about should developing countries centralize their focus on the country's economy during the COVID-19 pandemic? So here's my personal ideas, my original ideas, which I think more effective than the solution that exists in the topic. There is something that must be taken more seriously than centralized focus. What is that? That is balance the focus. Focusing seems to prioritize, while balancing will be more effective and equally. The COVID pandemic is not only felt in Indonesia, is not felt in developing countries, but throughout the world. But what sets it apart? What distinguishes the methods and the systems of handling? When we look at the reality regarding the pandemic eras of COVID-19, it seems that we can't just focus on only one sector, the economic sector, for example, that based on the theme. Because the relationship between the sectors and other sectors can be described as a roots, branching, intertwined, inseparable. When developing countries centralize their focus on the country's economy during the COVID-19 pandemic, other sectors may lose their control. But in fact, many sectors work together to fight for the country's economic sector. For example, is the natural resources sector. It has become a database that export activities are one of the contributors to country's finances. Besides that, there are also industries, real estate, and mining in several countries, and one of that is in Indonesia. And these sectors thrive. Without natural resources, then should the countries centralize its focus on the economic sector only? 9. There's a natural resources sector that must also be considered. Then, furthermore, when we are talking about the country's economy, it will never be separated from the economic conditions of the people, of the citizens. In developing countries, the characteristics of the economies are still low per capita income level, imports that more than exports, high unemployment rates, especially in the pandemic eras of COVID-19. Many poor people who complain about their economic condition, social assistance that has not arrived. Of course, to improve this, the country must also focus on the human resources too. Sorry, there's a connection unstable, I think.
Okay,
Okay, can I continue?
sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then furthermore, when we're talking about the country economy, it will never be separated from the economic conditions of the people, of the citizens. In developing countries, the characteristics of the economy are low per capita income level, imports that more than export, high unemployment rates, especially in the pandemic era. Many poor people complain about their economic condition, their social assistance that has not arrived. And of course, to improve this, the country must also focus on the human resources, where the qualities of human resources will depend on the qualities of education in the country itself. Then, should the country centralize its focus on the economic sector only? No, the education sector that must also be considered. So I have described several examples of the intersectoral linkage to reinforce my idea that developing countries should apply focus balancing than the focus centralizing. Furthermore, will success in the economic still meaningful when there are still many cases of COVID-19 in the country itself? Moreover, the more complications that arise day by day. In addition, to the sector that I have mentioned before, there is still one thing that is also important, or even very important in the eras of pandemic. What is that? That is the health for all of the citizens, all of the people. In the eras of COVID-19, there are still many obstacles, challenges to fight this virus, or at least to reduce the spread of this virus. And this time, I will not discuss it from a scientific or a medical point of view regarding to the pandemic era, but I discuss this phenomenon from a social scope. The spreads of COVID can occur due to two things: physical condition and interactions. This interaction thing is something that I'll discuss. People in developing countries, for example in Indonesia, often ignore existing health protocols, such as gathering and causing crowds, not wearing masks, hiding symptoms, and being afraid to be vaccinated, and so on. Either because they really don't care about that, or just because they are tired of the existing conditions. Therefore, the government must also play a role in providing socialization, community service, education about the pandemic era, and so on. And again, should the country centralize its focus on the economic sector? No, there's a public health that must also be considered.
For now, we will wait for Erha to reconnect.
Oh, I'm sorry, the connection here is really unstable. I can continue it again. What will happen if the countries, especially developing countries, centralize its focus on the economy? Resources will continue to be exploited. Education during the pandemic has more and more obstacles. Public health is less accessible, and there are many other risks. With equity and balancing, all sectors will be touched and developed gradually. Although the pandemic is not over yet, but various sectors have developed, then this will help. Oh my God. With equity and balance, all sectors will be touched and developed gradually. Although the pandemic is not over yet, but various sectors have developed, then this will help ease the heavy and difficult pandemic era. Therefore, developing countries should carry out the balanced focus methods rather than centralized focus methods. Because if all the elements are balanced, then not only stability in the economy sector will be achieved, but also success in other sectors will be obtained by developing countries. Okay, I think that's all of my speech. I'm sorry for my unstable connection. Thank you for listening. Good morning and have a nice day.
Thank you, Erha, for your speech. And now for the judges, the grading starts now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and last but not least, I will call participant number 5, Keisha Putri Sinta from SMA Negeri 30 Jakarta. If you may, turn on your camera before beginning your speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Is my voice clear?
Yes, voice clear.
Thank you. The policies are too strict. What about our country's economy? My business is dying. These are only a handful of the phrases that I often hear throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. If we further examine these statements, we can conclude that majority of citizens' complaints are related to economic issues. In developing countries, such as our own, it is not rare for people to be against regulations regarding the pandemic. They believe that it is harming their economic stance. This situation causes us to wonder, should developing countries centralize their focus on the economy during such a crisis? Before I state my views, I would first like to greet all the judges, teachers, committee, and fellow participants. Thank you for having me here. My name is Keisha Putri Cinta from SMAN 34 Jakarta, and my answer to the previous question is simply no. Developing countries should not centralize their focus on the economy. There are other concerns that these countries, including Indonesia, should prioritize, the main one being the quality of our human resources. Although unobvious, the economy isn't the only field that is impacted by this pandemic. This awful condition has also taken a toll on the social aspects of life. Our interactions become limited, which is something that we as humans are not used to. As social beings, we need the existence of others to live. We need others to be able to learn and develop our lives. The circumstance that we are facing makes it challenging for us to experience the benefits of being social. In addition, the pandemic has also harmed the overall welfare of countless lives, whether physically or even mentally. Several people have experienced their health declining. Surely enough, this affects one's potential. Such a situation may discourage them to enhance their lives and stop them from becoming better individuals. Now imagine if developing countries only pour their attention towards healing the economy without putting any effort into resolving the social and health problems. In the long run, citizens won't be able to optimally contribute towards the growth of their country's economy, causing numerous disadvantages. Human resources become inadequate, which would only make it more troublesome for countries to evolve. Aside from that, we are certainly aware that COVID-19 has created alterations towards the education system. Ultimately, it has been proven by multiple parties that the current learning method tends to be ineffective. Students aren't able to comprehend the material efficiently, causing difficulties for them to expand their knowledge. However, these same students are the nation's next generation. The success of their country will someday be in these people's hands. Therefore, if this flawed education system continues, it will severely impact a country's future. Despite all the effort that previous generations have made, it wouldn't be beneficial if not continued by competent individuals. Even though I have mentioned how human resources is a significant focus that should be taken into consideration, I can't dismiss the fact that the economy is also relevant. As most of us recognize, many people have been financially struggling, especially in countries that are still growing. Work termination, salary drop, and even bankrupt businesses are now common incidents. This condition certainly has brought tremendous impacts. If so, the same question reappears. If the effects are that destructive, should developing countries centralize their focus on the economy? From my standpoint, the word centralize should be omitted. The usage of this word proposes that countries should concentrate all their time and effort towards repairing the economy, leaving no opportunities to improve other fields. I firmly oppose this. A quote that I strongly resonate with is one by Donna Karan. Everything in life has to have balance. Hence why there should be an equal and fair distribution between various areas of distress. It is now apparent that to bounce back from the COVID-19 pandemic, developing countries should pay attention to their economy as well as their human resources, because inevitably, humans are the actors of all development. Nevertheless, we can't ignore the reality that part of a country isn't only its ruling government, but it also involves all its citizens. Thereby, I would like to invite all of us, as part of a developing country, to participate in the growth of our homeland. We could start simple, such as attempting to improve our self-quality and encouraging others to do the same. As the next generation, let us rise. Don't easily blame others. Remember, the country is in our hands. We hold the ability to create a great future. We are able to partake in building a prosperous nation. On a final note, I would like to end my speech by appreciating everyone present. Thank you for your time and patience. I wish you all a splendid morning.
Thank you, Keisha, for your speech. For the judges, the grading starts now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for all the participants for your speeches. And now the judges will give the reviews for the participants' speech, starting with number 1 for Raihan Maika Iswahajudi, Mr. Wasito, and Miss Mimi, if you may.
You speak first. Mimi, maybe?
I think you can do it first.
Me?
I can add some more probably. Yeah. You can do it first. I can add some more.
Okay. So, first, congrats for all the finalists. You have done well, maybe only a little bit a kind of, maybe some accident because of some one participants have problem with the connection. But anyway, when we are talking about speaking contest or speech contest, we, the judges, consider your performances based on some elements, what also called fluency, pronunciation, cohesion or connectiveness, how smooth you deliver your speech, and also the content. And last but not least is what is called non-verbal cues. So comprising eye contact, your facial expression, and your gesture, meaning part, the movement part of your body, hands, striking your shoulders, so on. So let me say something about Rehan. Amongst of the 5 elements, so you are powerful in my mind on your fluency and your cohesion, connectedness, how deliver your speech. So you use clearly, you use transactional signals. So I know the moving from one, let's say, paragraph or one subtopic, paragraph, if it is writing. But you need to improve, especially on your non-verbal cues. Your gesture and the others is good enough, but I don't see your facial expression. Yeah? Okay, the things of your facial expressions. So you have a kind of, let's say, flat expression. That is about Raihan. Mimi, you may continue.
Okay, Raihan. I agree with Pak Wasito about that. Yeah. You need to improve your, what is it? Expressions. Yeah. Eye contact. Yeah. And then so that we will feel that we are taken into your speech. Apart from that, I like the way you deliver the speech. Yeah, your strength is, for example, good introduction, full of latest information, which is very sophisticated, and then your content is also good. Yeah, you can, what is it? You can make us agree that what you have in mind, all the reasons that we should, what is it? We should centralize our economic first. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, okay, and then all the reasons are. And that's all from me. Rehan, congratulations. I think you've done a very good job.
Thank you, judges.
Okay, now for a review for participant number 2, Asha Wiratnanto, Mr. Wasito, and Miss Mimi, you may.
Okay, Asa. In my opinion, the strength that Asa has mostly on the cohesion. So clearly, I can see the what is so called is transitional devices or transitional signals, and yeah, quite good on fluency and nonverbal cues. But maybe you should improve your content. Your pronunciation is quite good too. That is, Ibu Mimi, please continue.
Yeah, maybe because sorry, maybe because Asha lives so far away. So the content of your what is it? Your speech, for example, is not solely focusing on what we have now in Indonesia. Yeah. So the reasons is more what is it? More international. Yeah. Okay. So although they make sense, yeah, about vaccines or about suffering, losing jobs, global recovery, but well, for me, have a look at Indonesia. What is the condition of Indonesia? Yeah, yours is very full of information. Okay, so I think you need to improve that. Just look at us as developing country and Indonesia as developing country, and what is the condition of Indonesia now, and then what is it? Tell your reasons about that. But good job, Nasa. Your mind is full of sophisticated information and sophisticated what is it? Views about everything in the world. It's very complete there. Yeah. Only the lack is go back to your country and see what we should do about that. Thank you, Asa. Good job.
Thank you.
And now, thank you. And now for a review for participant number 3, Natalie Awantara, Mr. Wasito, and Ms. Mimi.
Okay, for Natalie, you perform informations data on the content, but maybe Ibu Mimi can add about this, especially on content. Thank you.
Sorry, Pak Wasito, is it my connection is I didn't hear your previous
Okay, so okay, let me repeat.
The connection, yeah.
Okay, basically, Natalie performed quite well on the 4 elements: the fluency, the pronunciations, the cohesion, or the connectiveness when delivering speech, and also her performance on showing eye contact and also visual expression, gesture. But I don't see a lot in the arguments when reinforcing her topic. That is.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pak Wasito. Despite all the goodness, I see that the content needs more exploration, more explanation and exploration. so it will enrich your speech. Over here, I didn't see that, yeah. But maybe later in the future, you can explore more about your argument on this, yeah. Thank you, Natalie, for that. Good luck.
Thank you, judges.
And now for a review for participant number 4, RH Krisanti Dian Kamila Ananda, Mr. Wasito and Ms. Mimi, if you may.
Okay. For the fourth participant, NH, yeah, sorry, there was some trouble in connection. Yeah. Okay, basically, you have performed well in the. I see you speak fluently. Also, the pronunciation is quite good. So you also can deliver your speech smoothly, and the content, as far as I can see, it's good enough. But because of the maybe connection trouble, so I cannot see clearly on your non-verbal cues. Sorry about that. Mimi, continue.
Yeah, my scoring is a bit what is it? Because of the connection, the poor connection. I didn't see the cohesion there, although your arguments are very good, yeah. But then the connectiveness in the argument are not very clear here, yeah, for me. Although you said a lot, she said a lot about things, yeah, maybe because of the what is it, low connection there, so it's kind of not very smoothly done, or not very smoothly coming to my mind. But I'm sorry for that. We can understand that, yeah. But you have done very well, Erha. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to judges for the feedback and the advice. And once more, I'm so sorry about the low connection that is out of my control. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm sorry too. We're sorry too. Yeah.
Yes.
And for the last review is for participant number 5, Keisha Putri Sita, Mr. Wasito, and Miss Mimi, if you may.
Okay, Keisha, I enjoy your performance. Yeah, especially you can do well on the non-verbal cues. Yeah, I can see, in my opinions, you are perfect on this one. Okay, and also, even though you cannot, even though you were not speaking so fast, but I can see chunks of your speech, the way you deliver your speech. It's nice to hear. And from the pronunciation, cohesions, and content is quite good. That is, Mimi?
Yeah, I agree with you, especially the for the first part, the introduction, which is very good. Yeah, you dramatize the problems of our existing economy. What problems do people have there? And then and you what is it? You deliver it nicely with good cohesion and good speed, yeah, speed of speech, yeah, very clear, yeah. And I also like the quoting, yeah, which strengthen your speech, your arguments that everything in life, it should be balanced, yeah. I mean, I quite agree with that. And also quite inspiring. You tell us that our country is in our hands. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Thank you very much, Keisha.
Thank you so much, judges.
Thank you, Mr. Wasito and Ms. Mimi, for your reviews. And now, to close the final round of SETARA 2021 English Speech Competition, our head of committee would like to give a closing speech. Kalaras, if you may.
Hello, excuse me, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Laras Prameswari, and I'm the head of committee of English Speech Competition SETARA 2021. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the judges, Mr. Wasito and Ms. Mimi. Thank you for our teachers, Ms. Desi and Mr. Fallen that are attending the Zoom. Thank you to the committees. Thank you for all the audience that are watching this live stream right now. And thank you for all the participants for participating in English Speech Competition SETARA 2021. I hope this event can be a meaningful experience for the participants and everyone that contribute in this event. And I hope through this event, the participants will improve their public speaking, analytical thinking, and leading skills. That's all for me. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Harman.
Okay, thank you, Kalaras. All right, everyone, that's the end of the final round. The winners will be announced at 16th of October at SETARA's closing. Don't forget to watch it. And thank you, everyone. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we may leave the room, right?
Okay, bye-bye.